Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Let the Right Ones In podcast. I'm your host, T. Today, I do have a guest with me, my boyfriend, M. We're going to pretend we're in James Bond for a minute. And today, we're going to talk about Bandersnatch, Netflix's new interactive movie that was released last month. Say hi to the people.
Hello, everyone.
So like I did mention, in this episode we are going to talk about Bandersnatch. It's an installment of Black Mirror. They kind of did it as their Christmas special this year. And it's an interactive movie, meaning that the choices that you make affect the ending. And then the character also pretty much does whatever you tell him to. But we'll get into that a little later. So basically it is modeled after game books. They've been around since the 1930s, but they didn't get popular until around the 1970s and the 80s. They kind of weaned out in the early 90s. But basically, these were books where you could either role play by yourself or you could, within a story, make decisions for the character, and then the character would do whatever you wanted them to do, and that would affect the ending. There's also games like this, like The Wolf Among Us from Telltale Games. Other YouTubers have done it as well. And then, of course, there are visual novels.
My first exposure to the genre was R.L. Stine's Reader Beware, You Choose Your Scare. And then, of course, I'm also a big fan of visual novels, such as Kara no Shoujo being one of my favorites.
What a nerd. Those are kind of the origins of it. As I was doing research, though, I did find out something interesting. Apparently, one of the bigger people in the genre from the past, the company goes underneath Choose Your Own Adventure. That was the series, and it was by Bandom Books, I think. They were the publisher. But in any event, they're suing Netflix for over $25 million over this. They're saying that it's infringing on their copyright.
Yeah, a lot of people I see on Reddit seem to misunderstand. They think they're suing over the format when really it's just the title itself, Choose Your Own Adventure, that they own, which is the reason that, a lot of the Choose Your Own Adventure is not published by them. You'll notice they always have a different type of title, like Reader Beware, You Choose Your Scare, or Choose Your Adventure, not Choose Your Own Adventure. So...
yeah, but still, I kind of get why they would do it, but in any of the materials that I saw, I didn't see it say Choose Your Own Adventure per se. The only ones I've seen were the interactive novel ones, but you've seen more of the adverts, right?
I want to say once on Netflix's main page, you know how when you first open up the page, there's typically the huge autoplay ad.
Right.
I want to say in one of those the words Choose Your Own Adventure was used, but I can't be sure.
Right. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But that was just an interesting little tidbit that I found. Because people sue for anything nowadays. So I was kind of like, what you said the people on Reddit thought. I was like, are you really trying to sue over a format?
Yeah.
Like, we can't even, I guess, live because we have to make choices. So, I guess they have to sue me as well. But
everybody's got choices.
I thought that was an interesting sort of tidbit before we actually got into it. So, what would you say your overall impressions were of it?
I felt it was very strong. I really liked it. Of course, it's a completely new way to show television. Netflix, I believe, did something like this in the past with Minecraft Story Mode, I believe it was called. But, of course, it falls into a lot of the pitfalls a lot of Choose Your Own Adventures have to do, as, many of the endings are just there to loop you back. It's just a quick ending. Oh, you died. Wrong path, mate. But, of course, if they had a complete path for each and every branch, of course that would be ridiculous. They would have had maybe 40 plus hours of footage. I mean, I believe for this hour and a half special, it was mentioned they shot over 4 hours of footage.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I did enjoy it as well. I was really excited for it because I really did love those things as a kid, even though I would make shitty decisions, much like now. I was excited for it to be like, I'm gonna help this dude. I'm gonna make his life so good. We're gonna have such a good time. And it didn't quite turn out that way, but it was really fun. I liked it. The only thing I would maybe say is that hour and 30 is a lie. If you're going to go for all the endings, it took us like, what, 2-3 hours almost to get through everything?
I'd say it was about 3 hours, our first watch through, because I wanted, she wanted to go to bed, but I was way more engrossed in it, I feel, and I definitely had to see everything, or at least almost everything, before I was confident in going to sleep.
Well, that's true, but to kind of be fair, though, it was late. It was like, we didn't start until like after 12, after midnight, and it was like, what, 3:30, and I was like, I want to go to bed. There's work in the morning. Leave me alone.
But I was like, wait, I haven't done this path. I have to see where this goes.
So we did end up redoing things quite a bit just to make sure that we got all the endings. I believe we got all the endings, right?
Yes, all of the important ones. I believe there's one in the Netflix meta ending that we missed that I didn't feel like going back for. And I just kind of read up on it on the subreddit.
I did like the setting as well. Back in the 80s where things weren't like as technologically advanced, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I've really liked going back because, most of Black Mirror, it's a more futuristic type world. So it was interesting to see that the whole technology can be a scary thing could still work even back in like the 80s. That was really interesting to see. And I also really like that.
And then I guess my only other criticism would be some of the music. Like, some of the songs were good. I was like, ooh, I like this song. And doing my little dance with it. But I don't know if it was like maybe a licensing issue or something like that. But if you saw the list that Colin's character gave Stefan, and I should say spoilers, this is going to all be spoilers from here on out. But if you saw like the list that he gave him, there were like good bands. It was like what? The Cure and Joy Division and all this other like weird goth emo shit, I guess you could say. Well, maybe not emo shit. People are going to get mad at me for that. But
emo didn't even exist back then. Re.
Exactly. But you know what I mean. Kind of cooler, older stuff. And then we get like fucking White Noise. I didn't like either of those tracks.
I actually liked the instrumentals that you make Stefan choose between. I know you didn't like either of them. But of course, one of the reasons they probably had to pick and choose which popular songs they would have, all of those very popular bands nowadays that, would probably cost quite a lot of money.
Yeah, I get it. And I know that's like a nitpicky thing to say, but that was pretty much my only like huge criticism aside from the time is those two instrumental tracks. So those I was ready to just gouge my ears out. No, thank you. But that's just me. A little nitpicky thing. What was your favorite ending?
I have to say the 5-star ending was my favorite because it felt the most Black Mirror to me. I might get a lot of flack for this, but I honestly didn't enjoy the happy ending, as it were.
The one where he like killed his dad and he got the...
I don't think he kills his father in the ending where he kind of goes back in time and dies as a child.
Oh, that one.
And then it cuts back ahead and he's dead in the therapist chair. Yeah, I didn't like that ending because it didn't feel Black Mirror to me, and it just felt like, well, it's a choose your own adventure, and choose your own adventures, there's typically always one happy ending. So it felt kind of like they just kind of felt like their hand was forced and they had to include something like that.
But would you consider that a happy ending, though? Like, I didn't really consider that a happy ending. I was like, oh, shit, we killed him, Jim. Time to start again.
Well, as far as Black Mirror goes, it was happy.
That's true. I guess you're right there. I guess you're right as far as Black Mirror is concerned. That's a little happier than what we would get. My favorite was probably the Joke Meadow one where they went to the therapist's office and she was like, well, if you had a friend from the future and he's watching you, wouldn't you want things to be more interesting? And then they started fighting. I think that one was my favorite, even though it was super meta, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that ending.
The other thing we could talk about his characters a bit. What did you think overall of, all the different characters we had, like his dad and Mohan Tucker? And
all of the characters had so much to them. Typically, Mohan Tucker just would have been some sleazy, but like just background character. But all of the characters really felt like they had depth, no matter how long they were on screen. And that's something I really enjoyed. Of course, Colin's character was by far my favorite, just due to how eccentric he was.
Yeah, and all of the fourth wall breaking with him, like it was very meta in that sense. Like he was kind of acting kind of as, like, I would say maybe a guide, like, oh, wrong path, mate, or see you in the next life, things like that. And I thought that was kind of cool, kind of helping us along a little bit, you could say.
Yeah, there's actually it's one of the lesser known paths. I believe to get to it, you have to first accept the deal, then go through all the way to where you make Colin jump, and he tells Stefan he'll see him again. And that moment never happens, but if you actually end up choosing one of the branches that takes you all the way back to the beginning, when he first meets Colin, he'll actually mention, like, I told you so, mate.
For anyone who kind of hasn't seen it yet, or is kind of like, what the hell are they talking about? Basically, what happens is you're following Stefan, who's a game developer, and he wants to make a game off of this really big choose-your-own-adventure Bandersnatch. And so he takes it to a gaming company where this dude Colin works, and it's run by this other dude, Mohan Tucker, and the company's Tuckersoft, by the way. And he either decides to make the game or not make the game with them. We're just kind of following all of the hell he's going through developing the game. Anything to add?
I guess not.
I don't know. You were looking at me, so I was just like...
I was looking at you because you paused.
Oh.
This is my first podcast, everyone.
But, yeah, I thought the characters were really developed, too. And I really liked his dad, even though it's kind of unclear now exactly if his dad was, like, this government agent, or if he was just, nice dad.
I feel it's pretty clear to me. I felt like it was clear that everything that was, we're shown that Stefan is on psychiatric medication, that he's going to a therapist on a regular basis. And so I feel like everything that his father does, like locking the door, that's the only thing that's really confirmed that he does. All the pack stuff in certain arcs, you don't get any of that at all. So I always felt it was clear that that was just a paranoid delusion he slips into as a result of the pressure of developing the game.
That makes sense. Yeah, because they really had me when it was that one path after he's got the videotape and he's looking. And then, Colin, after that acid trip, was like, program and control, man. So I was kind of on board, too. I was like, oh, shit, maybe. But I guess you're right. That does make sense.
Of course, the largest hint to it being the dream sequence in which he opens the safe, because it was dependent on what the player, meaning the viewer, puts in. So whatever Stefan puts in alters what's in the box, and that's kind of like the biggest hint in my mind that, this was all in his head.
Can we also talk about Collins just giving him acid without his consent?
Oh, yes, very bad idea.
There's this one scene, I guess, towards the middle where his dad is worried about him, so he tries to take him to the therapist office. And so you can either choose to... And he sees Colin at the same time. So you can either decide to go to the therapist and talk to her, or you can follow Colin. If he follows Colin, he takes him back to his house, introduces him to his wife and baby, and then he's like, oh man, the pressure, mate. Here's some tea. You want to drop some acid? And then you can either say yes or no. And then if you say no, he was like, oh no, yeah, that's fine. I was just giving you the choice. And then he just fucking drops acid in his drink. And I was like, the hell? That's not cool, man.
Yeah, if there's any drug you don't want to go into not knowing, it's probably hallucinogenics.
But I mean, eventually he figures it out and he's all cool. And then of course we get that Pac-Man monologue.
Yeah, that's hands down my favorite part of the entire episode. I just love that whole speech he gives because it really draws you in. Like, I don't know if I'm crazy for being like, oh yeah, this is some genius stuff, but I was there for it.
He's the program and control man. He's being chased by demons. I think it was pretty fun. Well, it was funny. It just was the ramblings of someone that was very high. But it was pretty good. Like, it does make sense. If you think about free will in general, kind of playing off of, do we really have free will? Or is there a certain set path that no matter what choices we make, we're still going to be on that set path?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I believe in terms of free will. I mean, of course, what a person is everything they've thought, gone through, and how they've reacted up to that point in their life. That's all kind of a person is. And of course, there are certain courses of action that some people in a certain position would never think of compared to another person. So to that extent, I suppose free will might not exist. But I guess I still believe in free will to a point.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to determine. Because like you said, would we even know if we didn't really have free will? Is it all kind of an illusion that we feel like, okay, well, I'm in charge. I'm deciding things. But we're not really deciding things. And you can kind of see that in religion, too. They're like, oh, everything you're going through is part of God's plan. And it's like, well, sometimes I guess his plans aren't that great. But you know what I mean, in the sense that even though you're making choices, this is what's going to happen regardless. I'm not 100% sure if I believe that. I would like to think that we can decide our own fate, that it's not all just predetermined and we're just kind of going through the motions. But I don't know, maybe we're all just Sims to some higher being or something like that, who knows.
Maybe I should have read Man's Search for Meaning in the lead up to this to prepare. The Brothers Karamazov. Another such philosophical books which pose a lot of those questions. Is free will, is it a thing? Is there a plan?
But I also think that it showed that there is kind of free will, because in Bandersnatch there were several instances where Stefan was like, no, fuck you, I'm not doing the thing. In the therapist office, it was either scratch your nose or like pull your ear.
Yeah, pull your ear, and no matter what you choose, like he starts to go for it, and then like he looks almost as if he has like some idea that the idea came from somewhere other than himself, and then he like kind of defies the player's choice.
And then there was another instance where he's having a bad time with the game, and it's like, throw your tea at the computer or destroy the computer. We always chose to throw your tea because we don't want to like really, really fuck up the computer. Then, he's not going to have a good time. And so he kind of defied that as well and was just like, nope, we're not doing that. And then he kind of was like, who are you? What do you want from me? So in that kind of sense, it kind of shows that, maybe even if things are kind of predetermined, we can still perhaps like kind of move against it.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
We kind of saw that kind of theme in Donnie Darko as well a little bit. Because Donnie Darko's been out for forever, so it's okay if I spoil that. Spoilers for that if you care.
Spoilers for a decades-old movie.
But in any event, so basically it's about this kid who an airplane engine falls in his room and he was supposed to die, but he did not die. And then he has delusions or not delusions, depending on if you've seen the extras or not, about a giant bunny rabbit that kind of saved him, Frank. And he's like, well, the world's gonna end in these amount of days, so hold on to your boxer shorts. And, instead of him dying, other people die, and it's just kind of a clusterfuck. But what I'm trying to get at is in that sense of there's a determined path and there's nothing that you can really do outside of that path unless you were to like time travel or something like that, which was another aspect of it. But
this reminds me, there's honestly one thing I wish they would have played on more, because in some of the earlier endings in which Bandersnatch gets a low review, but it does end up coming out, like if you continue taking his medication, you'll get one of these endings. And he just kind of watches the review with his father, and he says, I got to go back and try again. So it almost seemed as if Stefan had some type of knowledge of the loop in certain endings. And I wish they would have played on that more. You know how Colin he always seemed to have knowledge that there was kind of a looping, branching path here. A kind of meta knowledge of what they were in. And I wish they would have used that more. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. Because like you said, it did feel a little inconsistent in that sense where sometimes he caught on and then like other times he didn't. Especially in the earlier progressions, like in the earlier ones where you get the game out and he's just like, oh, I gotta go back. But then in some of the later ones, he's just kind of like clueless the longer it goes on. But I guess he would be kind of clueless since you're kind of making more choices for him as opposed to, okay, well, here you are, you're working with the team, you got a corporate game out, or, you know, oh, holy shit, you bashed your dad's head in, you want to bury him in the backyard, and you're going to jail. So I guess you're right in that sense. That could have been a little bit more consistent.
So you asked me earlier what my favorite ending was. So what was yours? Did you mention?
Yeah, the Netflix one where they were like fighting.
Oh, I meant like a kind of true ending, not one of the
jokier endings.
Yeah, not one of the short branch endings, but one of the longer endings.
That's a hard one. I would say would you count the one where he dies in the therapist office?
Yeah, of course. I'd count that as one of the longer endings.
Yeah, I really liked that one because he was with his mom, and I think that's kind of what he wanted all along. Like, no offense to his dad. His dad was a nice guy, but I could relate to, you know, having your mom die and, you know, you just wanting to be with your mom. So I thought that was kind of sweet. So,
yeah.
I guess that would pretty much be all you would have to say about the story and things involved with that.
Another thing to talk about is some of the secrets within Bandersnatch. Of course, people have been hunting online for some type of alternate phone number to input during one sequence or branch. I found one, and it has to do with PAX, P-A-X, of course, where there's an incredibly specific path you have to take. And during the dream sequence, right after, like when he goes to get the key from his father's jacket, instead of waking up that night and going to get the key, he'll wake up and he'll go over to his desk as if he's going to work on the game. And if you've picked things mostly related to PAX, then there's actually this one secret scene that only plays one time, and it doesn't play if you repeat the branch again, where the author of the original book is there and stabs Stefan in the stomach, and then he just wakes up as if it was a nightmare.
Yeah, he did that one without me. But that's a pretty good ending. And there was also one where... Wasn't there like another kind of weird one?
I believe there's the shorter one where you enter PAX into the safe, and then the monster gets you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Although I'm not sure that's a secret, because I don't think we had to go through some incredibly convoluted choice structure to get to that, unlike the one I was speaking about, which is actually very difficult to get to. There, I had to actually read a tutorial on Reddit to get to it.
Was there any other interesting thing of note?
There's the website. The website, during the ending with Stefan's, if you wait after the credits, after, I believe, either the 5-star ending or the happy ending we mentioned, I can't think of the best way to describe it. If you wait after the credits on Netflix, then you'll hear it. You'll get a short sequence of Stefan on the bus again, putting something into his tape player, but it's actually kind of, what's the format called?
What, like an audiobook?
The tape.
Oh, cassette?
Cassette tapes.
Come on now, you're not that young.
Well, When's the last time I've seen a cassette tape?
If you younger kids don't know what we're talking about, basically it's like a little tape thing, and then you put it in like a cassette thing and you rewind it. You could rewind it with a pencil even, but that's just a weird little side note. I don't know.
But yeah, it's a cassette tape with Bandersnatch on it, and then it plays a series of sounds, which people online were able to convert into a URL. And this URL actually takes you to a fake Tuckersoft website made just for Bandersnatch. And there are actually 3 versions of the website, one in which Nosedive never came out, one in which Bandersnatch never came out, and one in which Bandersnatch was released. And there's actually a playable version of Nosedive you can download. You need the certain emulator, which is actually the emulator for the type of machine they were developing these games for, which is actually a nod to what Bandersnatch was based off of, which was an old 70s, I believe 70s computer game made under a different title. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, a nice nod to the type of game they were creating.
And Nosedive was the game that Colin was working on when Stefan first joined up and was pitching his game to them. So that was pretty interesting and cool that you could actually play it. You were looking a lot at the ads. Were there any other notable or cool things with the ads?
Oh, yes. I believe in London, they put up a lot of posters, Tuckersoft posters for like Bandersnatch, Nosedive, Metalhead, and all of the games released from Tuckersoft. Of course, there are many nods to other Black Mirror episodes. Of course, the most attention-grabbing one being the white bear symbol consistently being throughout the episode, which I guess many people have now taken and ran with that being specifically connected to Bandersnatch, but I just see it as like a Black Mirror logo. But of course with Metalhead, there's a lot of other, some of the ads on the Tuckersoft website lead you to a fake, what was the name of the rating?
I forget the name of like the rating show.
But yeah, there's an ad for that. And it even takes you to a fake little app where you can input your name and it tells you your rating and you can rate your friends. And of course, if you input the creator's name, of course he has a 5-star. Easiest way to get a 5-star. But yeah, there's a lot of cool, they did little pop-up stores. I don't believe the public was ever allowed inside. They're just for show, but it shows a lot of fake Tuckersoft merchandise and everything. Little fake storefronts to promote the show.
And there were also kind of hints that we may be seeing some of the characters maybe, or some of the plot points in the next season, right?
I'm not sure.
I thought you mentioned something about, was it like something one of the actors put on their Twitter, or did you see I forget what you said.
I can't remember. There has been this guy, Daniel Black, which has been posting missing posters over some of the old Tuckersoft posters, but many people now believe that's a hoax and he's just kind of game jacking. If you're not familiar with an alternate reality game, it's a game where you can interact in real life, like there are phone numbers to call, places you have to go to check out. Some video games in their like lead up promotion have done ARGs. The Cloverfield series is known for having alternate reality games before each movie's release, which are very in-depth. Actually, 10 Cloverfield Lane, in fact, they put GPS caches out there in like Louisiana for people to hunt down and find with promotional material, fake slusho cans and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's believed that guy is now game jacking, and you might be referencing some of the stuff he's put out that I mentioned to you before, it came out that this guy was probably bullshit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought there was just something else, but I could have been wrong. I could have just like misunderstood something. But I thought there was like maybe something else hinting that we would see some of the stuff in the future. But we might. You never know with Black Mirror.
I mean, of course, Mohan Tucker, the actor who plays him, he's been in the background of a previous episode before. And then I believe the name of the bar they go to in San Junipero has a name that's very much like Tucker Soft. That implies it might be connected to him, so maybe he went into the bar business later on. Who knows? Or it could just be a subtle nod.
Yeah, it could be. who knows? I mean, you never know what Black Mirror is going to do or when that's going to come out. We don't even know when the new season is coming out, do we, yet?
I believe there was an interview with the creator that he said it was imminent, whatever that means. I mean, of course, imminent can mean a wide variety of things if we're talking, depending on what company we're talking about. In Valve time, imminent could be never. Rest in peace, Half-Life 3.
Overall, that would pretty much sum up everything regarding the episode. Overall, I thought it was really good. It was a lot of fun, but like I said, my only two criticisms for me would be those god-awful instrumental tracks and the time it took. But then again, it wouldn't have been a problem if maybe we had done it at in that early afternoon, but I got work. So can't be playing games in the afternoon a lot of the time. Other than the time and the instrumental, I think it was good. I would say 4 out of 5 stars.
I'd say I would also give it 4 out of 5.
Anything else you would like to say to the people?
No, not really, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening to us talk about this. If you were a fan of M, let me know. I'll bring him back. If not, I'll kick him out of my life forever. Just kidding. Just a joke. All right. Love you.
So smash that like button to keep M on the series.
So thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, we're going to talk about what makes a good character in any form of media. We're going to talk about good characters in video games, movies, books, and TV. So I hope to see you next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Peace.